Ramona Falls. Good morning, Ramona Falls. Well, I took a look at some other people's tents who were camping around Ramona Falls under large trees. And while they did have some mud splashed up on their tents, they didn't have nearly the quantity that we did. So I think, given the intensity of the downpour, which only lasted like 5 minutes, but it was super intense. Given that, I think under trees was definitely the right strategy, and we took the wrong strategy. Yeah, I remember a few years ago when I was hiking southern Washington, and it rained all evening and for part of the night, and I had set up under trees at that point, and I remember being disgruntled because I realized the drips from the trees, of course, are large and splashy, and I was getting splashback in mud from the tree itself, and that kept going long after the rain actually stopped. And so I think I made a mental note at that point that being under trees in rain is not that great, which is true if it's normal rain, which we normally get normal rain here in the Pacific Northwest. Those torrential downpours are unusual. But if it is a torrential downpour, you're going to be better off under trees. Also, I think my tarp tent notch tent, it's a fantastic tent. I like it a lot, been very happy with it, but I don't think it's really well designed for torrential downpours or to handle a lot of splashback. Just the way it is designed, it's hard to keep the inner bathtub really tight and upright. It tends to sag, and the netting sags inward and brings the mud and the water with it. So that was a little disappointing, but I think it's just the limit of the design. Great tent otherwise, though. Fortunately, though, once the torrential rain stopped and turned to more of a normal rain, I was able to flick the water and the mud mostly off of my inner netting, and then the netting dried pretty quickly because of course it's not going to soak up any water. And then once that was dry, I was able to deploy my sleeping bag without it getting super wet. It's definitely damp in places this morning. We'll have to put it out in the sunshine later today, but we have beautiful blue skies this morning, so we will definitely have sunshine here in a while, and we are definitely going to be doing a yard sale at some point today. Gear explosion, and get things dried and cleaned as best we can. Oh yeah, one last note about the storm. My sister-in-law Bethany was tracking weather for us all day yesterday to make sure that there weren't going to be any surprise changes, that the storms weren't going to come in earlier than forecast. Thank you very much for that, Beth. But she told me afterwards via InReach that there was 1 inch hail reported near Welch's. Fortunately, we didn't get any hail, but wow, yeah, I am glad we didn't have to find out what 1 inch hail does to a Dyneema tent. Ugh. Yeah, one final note about the storm. So that was day 115, and that was the first significant rain we have had on this entire trip, other than a brief sprinkle or what was basically heavy mist a couple days in the very beginning. We never have had significant rain fall until last night. Pretty amazing. Wet logs, lots of fun. Oh yeah, nice technique. Very nice.
Okay.
What happens if you cut a tree and it doesn't fall down? So Fugitive just got introduced to Devil's Club in the rudest way possible. Pretty sure this is the first time I've seen Devil's Club on this hike. But yeah, it just keeps getting more and more like home. I have a vendetta against Devil's Club though. As a trail maintainer, I cut it away from the trail whenever I possibly can because it's native, it belongs here, but it is not a nice plant. And for anyone who's not familiar with Devil's Club, this is why it is not a nice plant. More trail magic brought to us by my mother and my aunt. And Fugitive and I are eating it.
Yes, yum.
Well, the menagerie of home plants are almost complete. These are salmon berries. And I think this is the first time I have seen these on this trip. So we're back into my old stomping ground for sure.